Cities across the country hoping Amazon could transform their future are furiously finalizing their bids. Tomorrow's deadline day for anyone hoping to play host to Amazon's second headquarters. Boston is proposing 4 sites in its bid, but it's far from alone in the state, with several others expected from cities and regions around Massachusetts. But the stakes here are high. With as many as 50,000 new full-time jobs, it could pay over $100,000 each in total compensation. So what may make for a winning bid, and is the prize worth the cost? Joining me are Evan Falchuk, former third-party candidate for governor, who helped lead the effort to stop the Boston Olympics. He's now chair and CEO of Village Plan Aging Life Care. Good to see you, Evan. Shirley Young, GBH contributor and Boston Globe business columnist, of course. Hey there, Shirley, who along with several others put together an open letter in Sunday's Boston Globe to Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, Dear Jeff, and Muhammad Ali is president and CEO of the online backup company Carbonite. Great to see you, Muhammad. Thanks so much for being here. So we don't know all the bids, Evan, starting with you, and we know there are a lot of them. And by the way, we just did a poll, WGBH just releasing a poll. The people who are likely voters in Boston, obviously, at least in the initial phase, 72 to 15, are big time on this. Is it full speed ahead, and should it be?
Well, we don't know what's in the bids because they've been kept secret.
Well, we know it's in Worcester, thanks to her, $500 million over 10 years.
Yeah,
right?
we know a bunch.
But some of them, we don't know.
And we're talking about big tax breaks going to a company with billions of dollars in the bank. If they wanted to, they could write a check to build their headquarters wherever they wanted to, but they're looking to taxpayers to subsidize them. And I think that's part of our problem in our politics today, is this intertwining of business and government interests.
Some people who don't like that call it a race to the bottom, people like Bob Reich, former Secretary of Labor. You're all in this regardless of cost. Is that a fair?
Not regardless of cost. I mean, I think what New Jersey is doing, $7 billion of tax incentives, I don't understand how you make the numbers work on that. Worcester, one could argue a $500 million tax rate might be enough to really make that the next tax corridor in Massachusetts, so it might be worth it.
What is worth it here, Muhammad? Again, we don't know all the details, but what is it? I mean, we gave, for example, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 million tax breaks, infrastructure, state and city for 900 jobs at GE. This is 50 times as many jobs. So what should we expect?
Jim, as you know, I wrote an article against that GE offer, that amount for 900 jobs. But here we're talking 50,000 jobs. And there's probably a dollar figure where it's worth it. Because when GE comes here, even if you just take the payroll taxes.
You're talking about Amazon or Amazon now?
When Amazon comes here, they will come here. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars just in payroll taxes to the state. Hopefully, we'll also be taxing Amazon. So there's a lot of taxes that will come to the state, and we can actually put that to work to build our city. So there's a right way to do this, but there's also a wrong way to do it.
So the devil is in the details. And this Dear Jeff thing, I know you wrote the education segment. It's okay to say that, isn't it? Okay,
I think so.
Because it was all unsigned. It seemed to be, it was essentially, ask not what Boston can do for you, Jeff Bezos. Ask what you can do for Boston. For example, the line was, redefine how a corporation can help reshape a city. It was essentially, the burden's on you, Jeff Bezos. Tell us what you can do for us. Was that not almost the thrust of this?
It was. I mean, the idea was that come to Boston, be a partner with us here. We have issues. We're a great place to do business, but we have issues, especially if you bring 50,000 jobs to this city. Housing will go up. The T may crater even more, a complete meltdown of the T. So we need help figuring out these problems. Education is another one. I mean, I called for $1 billion investment in education.
Public, private, et cetera.
Public, private, because we need more tech talent. We don't have enough.
You know, in the abstract, I love hearing this. Let me ask the two CEOs. Is this what Jeff Bezos wants to hear, or does he want somebody to just show him the money? I mean, obviously, he wants the place where there are universities and talent, et cetera. But is this sort of approach that we're going to have this partnership and we'll build this even greater Boston? Is that the kind of stuff people like him want to hear?
Look, I think ultimately Jeff wants to be successful with Amazon. And that means two things. The economics have to be right, and the talent base has to be right. And that's what we have in Boston. We have an incredible talent base. We also have this university system to train the people that he needs. So let's say 25,000 of those people are right here in Boston today, but they're part of the economy where they don't have college education. Let's say we were to take hundreds of millions, $1 billion, and train those people. Then all of a sudden you have 25,000 people who live here. They have housing. They're already using the T for some purpose that can work at Amazon. There are very few other cities that could generate 25,000 people.
So you're sort of subscribing to the notion that it is not just a two-way street, but essentially, it's all. I went to the Roxbury debate the other day, mayoral debate, and Tito Jackson's position is what we should offer them is, hello and welcome to town, we're glad to have you.
It's a two-way street. We have to do some things for Amazon, but we also have to utilize the revenue that would come from Amazon being here to address education, to address housing, to address transportation. And we can do that.
Does that not move you at all? I know you're not crazy about these kind of things, but it is a two-way street. I mean, you give and theoretically you get. This is not a small enterprise.
No, and I think
huge resources.
The points Shirley was making on that were
and
good.
Mohammed here about the dollars,
well.
yeah.
But here's the problem. We're having this discussion in a really rushed way because the bids have to be submitted by Thursday, and the underlying problems that we're talking about here aren't being solved right now. We need to make sure that we're not outsourcing our democracy to a corporate titan.
This is round one, though.
Yeah, but this is the problem is there's no process. There's no public process that's gone on. Voters are not being asked what they think about this. There's no smart way to weigh the pros and cons as we're doing on this show.
Sounds
but
like
again,
something else, doesn't it? That happened once in the past.
This is like the Olympics.
You know, it's interesting. A variation on the theme. Your boss, Brian McGrory, is on the radio with us today, and I said the variation on this, not about the lack of democracy, but it almost seems like this thing that you and your colleagues did was a backhanded slap at the governor and the mayor. It seemed to be saying, since you guys haven't solved the problems you were democratically elected to solve, Jeff, you have to come in and help solve. Is that not a fair characterization?
Well, I think the goal was just to point out that, the governor and Mayor Walsh are doing some things on transportation. They're doing some things on housing, but they need to do something bolder to really fix these problems.
And you think
faster.
They need a partner like Bezos to make it happen?
They need a partner, but I guess for me also the bigger issue, well, what if Amazon doesn't come here? We still have this problem with housing.
It's like the whole debate about the Olympics.
Exactly.
It doesn't
but
come.
We shouldn't be longing for a strong man like Bezos to come and do this. This is up to us as voters and as concerned citizens to get involved and be civically engaged.
You know, one last thing before we shift gears here, Mohammed, really for you, because I know you co-signed a brief with a bunch of CEOs on the travel ban. We've all read the stories about how much harder it is to get new talent. Immigrants because they're going to Canada, they don't have to deal with this, whether it's a travel ban or the visas and all this sort of thing. Is it more likely that Bezos would choose a city like Boston, which is literally or figuratively a sanctuary city that is willing to reach out in a welcoming way to immigrants so that he has potentially a larger talent pool that he may have in a city that's not going in that direction?
I think talent has to be a very big factor for Jeff. And there are two sources of talent. One is to organically grow that talent.
Sure.
We have the capacity to do that. No other city has a
capacity. But we have to import some talent.
The second thing is that we have been very open to importing talent, to have the total talent needed, because at the end of the day, the tech sector actually just doesn't have enough.
So does our approach,
people.
Does it help being a sanctuary city help?
Yes, our approach helps.
Okay, can I switch gears here because I only have a minute or two. You know, back in Washington, the talk of the town is tax reform, and today the president, you probably know, repeated a claim he's been making for weeks.
It will be the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
I have no idea if that's going to happen, but I do know there's one constant in virtually everything we've heard there. There's going to be a lowering of the corporate tax rate from 35 to 20%. Two quick questions for all of you, particularly the CEOs on the first one. Does dropping the rate from 35 to 20%, does the benefit go, as Donald Trump says, to job creation, or does it go to wealthier shareholders? Evan.
Wealthier shareholders.
And you?
The benefit will come to companies, but companies don't necessarily have to use the benefit to hire people in the United States.
And
that's what I'm worried about.
And they're swimming in cash already, right? If they wanted to create jobs, they have the money to do it, don't they?
The other issue is we don't have enough talent here if we want to hire the people. So companies are hiring people in Canada. I mean, you look at Microsoft. They set up their Vancouver location. They're going to hire where the talent is.
That leads to my final question for all three of you down the list. If I were to say to you, or to the CEOs you talk about, or to you, you have a choice. You can get a big tax cut, or I'm going to spend every one of those dollars to make our infrastructure 21st century ready, to train people so they can do these jobs on their own. I'm going to invest it rather than give you a tax cut. Which would you choose?
I would absolutely take the latter, and I'll tell you why.
The investment.
The investment, because all these people that are going to be out of jobs can be retrained. But today, we are doing nothing to retrain these people. We have to invest in In states like Indianapolis, where Carbonite employs a large number of people, 70% of the people there don't have a college education. If we can educate them, imagine the power of our economy.
Quickly, CEOs you talk to.
Investment in infrastructure. I mean, I don't know about the CEO, but infrastructure for
How about you?
education.
Investment in infrastructure, but our policymakers want to give the money to places like Amazon, and that's a mistake.
Donald Trump, you're watching. Nice to see you,
Good
Evan
to see you.
Falchuk,
Yeah.
Shirley Leung. As always, Mohammed, thank you for your
Great
time.
to see you.
Appreciate it.